not recommended. So always stick to the pre-planned. Yeah, it takes a bit longer. So yeah. So now let's travel across the globe to. It takes a bit longer. Now let's travel across. Or in the, yeah. So now let's travel across the globe.
Und ich glaube, die darf man nicht in Betrieb ausstatten. Haben die einen Flash-Speicher? Für die kleine Software. Ich sage euch das da. Der Flash-Speicher verbirgt sich da unter die Blenden. Oder schaut sie vielleicht da ein bisschen mit?
Position switch.
Good morning, our global listeners, and welcome to another episode on how to do business effectively. I'm Felix Fuchshofer, this is Simon Paschek. Welcome. So today we'll look at how Austrian corporate rules function. But to make things really practical, we're also comparing Austria with a completely different country, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, we will call them in the podcast. And by contrasting these two economic environments, you will get a clear picture on how cultural expectations dictate in the international deals. Exactly, because when you walk in a boardroom in a foreign country, not knowing about their customs can really damage the trust. So already look how things work in different countries. But before we look at specific countries, let's establish a baseline assignment. How do we actually define business etiquette in an academic sense? So to put simply, business etiquette is like the collection of unwritten rules or conventional social protocols that guide how professionals interact with each other. So it's like the invisible behavior frame of workplace. So think of it like a shared language. So when you respect someone's local etiquette, you're sending like a message, I value you and I respect your culture. It's a great way to phrase it. Ignoring it can make things go wrong very quickly. So this is now the perfect transition into our first target country, Austria, the country where we live right now. And yeah, so if you want to do business in Austria, the number one rule you must memorize is absolute punctuality. So time is treated as a highly rigid, finite resource. In Austria, I remember I had a meeting at 9 p.m. and arriving at 5 minutes past 9 is already considered very sloppy, and we made no deal this day. So always focus on punctuality when you're in Austria. Yeah. And now our second key fact is formality and the importance of academic titles. So Austrian professional life is heavily maintained by our respectful distance. So you should always address your partners by using like the formal German word Sie. How do you say it? Sie? I see. And combining also their last name with any earned titles that they got. So for example, you say to someone, hello, Herr Dr. Gruber. So that you never jump to first names, except they really want to have that. That brings us to a third funny fact about Austria. So actually, there's a little story of mine. I was there with my business colleague in Austria, and the third fact is that Austrians have a strict boundary between their professional and personal life. So I was there with a colleague of mine, and he asked a
woman on this business meeting if she wants to go on a date with him, but she says in Austria we have a strict line between our professional and personal life, and he said it also happened when he asked the second woman, so you can think that he is not good with women, but I know that in Austria it's important because they have this strict boundary.
So fact number 4 involves how meetings are run. So in Austrian business, it is really relied on agenda-driven interactions. So meetings are scheduled weeks in advance, and a written agenda is distributed beforehand. So spontaneous changes or something improvising during a presentation are really not recommended. So always stick to the pre-planned points.
And finally, the 5th fact that we discovered about Austria is the methodically risk-averse decision-making. So Austrian corporate culture values through analysis and safety. Decisions flow through established corporate hierarchy, meaning that things move more slower, because when you have this big hierarchy, things will take a bit longer, because an example would be if a startup decides to change their whole corporate identity, it will take maybe a week or a few days. But in Austria, when there are the big hierarchies in companies or
So now let's travel across the globe to our comparison country, the UAE, United Arab Emirates. So when you compare it to Austria, the difference in etiquette is absolutely fascinating.
They really are. So the first comparison point we found out that is very different is relationship building versus task focus. So when you make business in the Emirates, when you meet them first, they want to get to know you, want to know how you work with people, and this always happens before they ask something about data. So at first they want the relationship between you to establish a trust bond, and then you will talk about business and something about data. So at first they want to get to know you.
Wow, that's a really direct contrast to Austrian work-life separation. So our second point is punctuality style. In UAE, while foreign visitors are absolutely expected to be on time, the local corporate view of time is highly fluid. So meetings might start late or run over schedule or get interrupted by family calls. So patience is key going there, and getting frustrated by scheduling delays will harm your reputation.
A critical fact that's well known about the UAE is their indirect communication. So in Austria, Austrians are actually well known to say very strictly what they think. So sometimes it can hurt when you work with an Austrian guy and he says you exactly what you think. But I think in UAE it's not that much better, because they will not directly say what they think. They will maybe say inshallah or something and make it. They will say it a bit more careful, so they don't want to hurt you and say it more indirect, and it can be hurtful for your business. So because things will take longer because you don't know what they actually mean.
Exactly. Our fourth point now is the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So while both countries hierarchical,
Yeah.
the UAE's structure is deeply tied to the family and like senior figures. So decisions are strictly top down, so flowing directly from the top executives to down to the family head.
The fifth major difference between those two countries that are very important are the religious or cultural protocols. So when you make business in the Emirates, it's important to consider things like Ramadan. So it will not be good if you may make a meeting at a steakhouse with someone takes Father Ramadan, will look very angry at you, and also not to make meetings at prayer time and stuff like that. So those things are not that big in Austria, but in UAE those are very big.
Wow. So looking at those two systems side by side really proves how diverse global etiquette is. So on one side you have Austria, so really formal, agenda-driven, highly punctual. So, and on the other side there's the UAE, relationship first, fluid with time, highly respectful of social harmony and cultural traditions. Yeah, it's great differences.
Absolutely, and the interesting thing is that either way is right or wrong. So it's a great example for seeing that there are different ways, different roadmaps to the same goal. Be successful.
Yeah. So to our global audience listening there, next time you catch a flight to Vienna or board a plane to Dubai, don't just study the market prices, study the people. Take time to learn their etiquette, and it will show you how international partners that you are true professionals.
Yeah. We also have a little interview with a business expert from the Emirates. And thank you for listening to us.
To make this podcast even more valuable, we invited the Dubai entrepreneur Iras Sahir.
My name is Ira Sahir.
So, when you make business in the Emirates, what is the number one rule, Irat?
The golden rule in the Arab Emirates is trust in your business partners. In Austria, you just rush an agenda and you just finish the business really quick. Here in the Emirates, we trust our clients first and then finalize our transaction.
Nice.
Well,
Very interesting.